So, check this out, people. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Budweiser incident. And so, Budweiser put a transsexual on their can. And so, there are a lot of people who are pissed. It seems like this woke nonsense keeps being forced and pushed down people's throats, right? And the fact is that nobody cares what two grown-ups do in the privacy of their own home. If two men want to go into the next room and suck each other's dick, that's their problem or their issue. That doesn't mean that they have to push and force that into or onto the public. And that's the issue that's been going on right now. And so if you look at what's been going on with Budweiser and you listen to what's going on in the news or you read about it, you're going to hear that Budweiser has been losing 30%, 50% of their sales because people are boycotting the beer, right? And this has been going on for about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, give or take. What a lot of the media isn't talking about is that, yes, Budweiser is losing a lot of sales, private sales from store owners who aren't able to sell Budweiser and bar owners where people are just not ordering Bud. So that's what you're hearing in the news, and that's probably a fact, I'm sure. But what they're not telling you in the news is that the stock for Anheuser-Busch has gone up pretty significantly within the past 3 weeks. I believe that it was around $59 before the scandal, and now the stock is at $65 a share. So even though Budweiser is losing sales in the private market, their stock has climbed in the stock market. So this just goes to prove that bad news doesn't always affect the market the way we think it's going to affect the market. And good news isn't always going to affect the market the way we think. Because we found that in the market, good news has caused a stock to plummet, and bad news has caused a stock, like in this case, Anheuser-Busch, to skyrocket or to spike. And this just goes to show that, to give you an idea of who really is in control of the stock market. Because here we have the majority of Americans boycotting Budweiser, and they're losing 30 to 50% of their private sales. But in the market, it's going up. So who's in control of the market? If people aren't buying the beer, why is their stock spiking? The everyday consumer who is boycotting Bud has pulled their money out of the stock. So if you got 30% of Americans, 30 to 50% of Americans who are pulled out of Anheuser-Busch stocks and who have stopped buying their beer, and according to statistics, that's how much money Anheuser-Busch has lost, 30 to 50%. And so if this is really happening, why is their stock spiking? And this is just an idea, or to give you guys an idea of who really is in control of the market, because there was a time when AMC and the apes were able, rather not AMC, but the apes were able to get together, and just like Bud, right? Just like the people who are boycotting Budweiser right now, Anheuser-Busch, have gotten together and caused their stock to plummet by pulling their monies out of the stock, supposedly, because the stock has risen, right? And even though people have gotten together to boycott it, the only people that are being affected are the private sellers. The stock isn't being affected. The only ones that are being affected are those who own bars and who own restaurants and who own liquor stores, where the people aren't buying the Budweiser and it's just sitting in these people's stores, right? You got AMC, right, for example. And the reason why I'm talking about Budweiser is because people have gathered together, rallied together to stand together and boycott Budweiser as one. And as you can see, eventually the stock is going to tank. If it doesn't, then something ain't right. Something ain't right. It doesn't make any sense for, according to the news, they're losing 30 to 50% of sales, but their stock is gone up 20-30%. That doesn't make any sense. So in the same way, you got AMC, where supposedly you got 90% of retail investors who own AMC and who held on to AMC from the beginning but never sold. And yet the stock went down from $74 a share to where it is now at $4 and change. And if we own, or the majority of retail investors in apes own 90% of AMC, why is the stock down so low? Why isn't it up? Do we really own 90% of AMC shares? Because it doesn't make sense that if there are no shares, right? There are no shares, whatever that means. Because to be honest, I have no idea what it means when people on YouTube says there are no shares. Does that mean there are no shares to buy? Because I buy in and out of AMC all the time. Does that mean that there are no shares because hedge funds and Adam Aaron don't have any shares to drop, to sell? Is that what that means? Because I have no idea what that means, that there are no shares. And everybody on YouTube pretends that they know what they're talking about when they say there are no shares. I have no idea what that means. And so if there are no shares and we own 90% of AMC shares, I say we, I own a few shares of AMC. I don't hold to the moon. I buy in and out. I trade it. As soon as it goes up 30%, I'm out. And I jump right back in. And so I don't understand that if we own 90% of the stocks, why is it down? Why isn't it going up? And if people believe that the reverse split is going to cause a squeeze, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, because nobody's going to buy into this money pit at $50, $60. I'm not doing it. That doesn't make any freaking sense. I'm going to buy put into AMC, because AMC is going to be shorted to the moon. It's going to be shorted to the moon. And so you have these YouTubers here who were talking about phase 6, right? Phase 6. And so my question to Phil For Real and all these other YouTubers who were talking about phase 6, what the fuck does that mean? And where is it? Because every 3 months there's something new. There was phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, phase 6. In between those phases, there was Citadel. Now it's Antera. We all know this. It's also Adam Aaron. We also know this. Um, and so if it ain't one thing, it's another. It's Tuttle or Toodle or whatever the judge's name is. It's the reverse split. It's always an excuse for why the MOAS never took place. And this is the problem with what's going on YouTube, is that these people are going to get the ad revenue. They know this. They know that YouTube is going to pay them for all of the views they get, all the subscribers they get who want to know about AMC, who are hopefuls about the MOAS. These people who are promoting the MOAS know that there's no such thing, but they know that there are people out there, because where I come from, there's a saying, there's a sucker born every minute. And so on YouTube, there's a sucker born every minute. And these YouTubers know this, like Scavenger Stonks, for example. He knows this. And this is why he continues to milk this whole nonsense about AMC MOASing. Because he knows, just like a lot of these other YouTubers know, that those who promote AMC and the MOAS bullshit, they're going to get the views, they're going to get the subscribers, they're going to get the ad revenue. And as long as they continue to pump this, the channel will continue to grow and they will continue to get paid. That is their MOAS. That's Scavenger Stonk's MOAS, his YouTube channel. That's Tony De Niro's, or whatever it is, MOAS, his YouTube channel. That's Massalorian's MOAS, their YouTube channels. While you're sitting there watching them get paid, lying to you about something that was never going to take place, ever. Ever. Anybody who knows the stock market knows that there was no such thing. It's not possible. It's just not going to happen. And so they sat there in front of the cameras and they made videos. And every day that goes by, they have to think about some new scenario to play out, a new narrative, so that you can continue to watch and they can continue to get their ad revenue. And every time there's no MOAS, they justify it by making up another excuse. And so I want to know, Phil, for real, what is phase 6 and where is it? And so you have here now those people who are boycotting Anheuser-Busch. And then you have those people who are fighting for AMC. And it seems like those who are standing together in Anheuser-Busch are showing the apes what unity really is. Because the apes have forgotten what that means. I remember there was a time when I would speak against the MOAS, or I would speak against Lou versus Wall Street, and everybody would come at me. Everybody in my comments or whatever, they make videos about me. And now those same people are either repeating what I'm saying or they're fighting against fellow apes who are standing with what I'm saying or who disagree with what I'm saying. But regardless, the apes have forgotten what it means to be united. And maybe you should go back and watch what the boycotters of Anheuser-Busch are doing and how they're uniting to boycott Anheuser-Busch. And so now if maybe the apes get together and say, listen, let's stop this fighting, Phil For Real, with Frankie Muhammad, everyone else on Twitter and on YouTube that's fucking with Frankie Muhammad just because he's speaking out the truth of what's really going on. And it doesn't make sense to me how we can be divided when we're all united in one cause, which is to make money. Everybody's here to make money. And now all of a sudden the environment changed. Now everyone who was here for a MOAS has become a professional trader. a professional YouTuber. And so they've forgotten about why they bought into AMC in the first place, because they found new money. They found a new means to an old MOAS that was supposed to take place but never took place for the majority of the people. But for them, it's a MOAS because they continue to make that revenue through YouTube. And by continuing to pump up the MOAS and AMC squeeze and all this other bullshit. And so when AMC finally reverse splits, my MOAS is going to be in an option, a put option. And I'm going to ride AMC to the ground. Because AMC is going to the moon, but it's not going to the moon in the upside, it's going to the moon on the downside. And so if you want to get rich, you can get paid. Just buy a reverse moon play, or make a reverse moon play. Instead of buying to the moon up, buy to the moon down. Because trust me, AMC is going to the moon. It's going to the moon. And I'm going to bet on it. And that's how I'm going to make my MOAS, if you want to call it that, if you believe in that nonsense. So you have Anheuser-Busch. You have those who are standing together to boycott it. And then you have those standing together supporting AMC. And the apes need to go back to who they used to be. And maybe if they're able to do that again, they may be able to force a small squeeze where AMC will be forced to spike, and then those who bought in at a higher price may be able to break even, or maybe recover 50% of their losses if it's possible. But just like the example that I gave you guys about Anheuser-Busch, how those in the private market, those who own stores, are losing out. Not Anheuser-Busch itself, but those who own stores. And of course, if the stores don't sell the beer, then the company can't sell to the store, so they lose out. But obviously somebody is buying into their stock, and it's forcing their stock to spike. And so if the retail investor is pulling out, who's pulling in? Who's putting in? And in the case of AMC, if the retail investor is putting in, who's putting out? And who's causing the stock to plummet? If we're all holding, according to YouTube, we're all diamond handing. Yeah, right. Diamond hands. Right. That's fucking ridiculous. The very same people who call themselves apes sell behind your backs. This is why the stock has dropped. It hasn't dropped because of 1%ers. It hasn't dropped because of, well, it did drop because of Adam Aron. He shorted it. But he's not the only one. Trace Trades shorted it. TMI shorted it. All these other, the Kansas 5 shorted AMC. All these people who had AMC in the hundreds of thousands of shares, those are the only people who are able to short a stock. If I own 100 stocks and I sell my 100 stocks, I'm not shorting anything. I won't even put a dent in the market if I owned 100 shares and sold them. And so who's selling AMC if we're at $5 a share, $4 and change? If we own 90%, supposedly, and nobody's selling. Are you sure the apes and retail investors own 90% of AMC? Get your money, people.